The Little Girl Found by William Blake, 1757 to 1827. All the night in woe Lyca's parents go over valleys deep while the deserts weep. Tired and woe-begone, hoarse with making moan, arm in arm 7 days they trace the desert ways. 7 nights they sleep among the shadows deep, and dream they see their child starved in desert wild. Pale through pathless ways they fancied image strays, famished, weeping, weak, with hollow piteous shriek. Rising from unrest, the trembling woman pressed with weary feet of woe, she could no further go. In his arms he bore her, armed with sorrow sore, till before their way a couching lion lay. Turning back was vain, soon his heavy mane bore them to the ground, then he stalked around. Smelling to his prey, but their fears allay when he licks their hands and silent by them stands. They look upon his eyes filled with deep surprise, and wondering behold a spirit armed in gold. On his head a crown, on his shoulders down flowed his golden hair, gone was all their care. Follow me, he said, weep not for the maid, in my palace deep Lyca lies asleep. Then they followed where the vision led, and saw their sleeping child among tigers wild. To this day they dwell in a lonely dell, nor fear the wolvish howl, nor the lion's growl. Okay, this is a poem by William Blake. William Blake came from London, from Soho. He was a poet, a painter and a printer, and he made all sorts of prints. He owned a printing shop as well. I think he left school at age something like 10. He didn't come from a wealthy family, and he wasn't famous when he was alive. Later he became recognized as one of the greats of the Romantic movement. Now this poem is The Little Girl Found, and this is the other half of the poem, The Little Girl Lost. And The Little Girl Lost is a poem where there is a little girl, Lyca, who is lost in the desert, and she is found. Lyca is worried about her parents, and eventually Lyca is found by this lion. And it looks initially like this lion is going to eat her, but the lion is her protector, and the lion and the lioness and all of the wild animals put this little girl, this innocence, under their protection. Now, what about this, The Little Girl Found? Well, this is about the love of the parents for their little girl, and how they are despairing. They're desperate to find their daughter, and they are deeply upset that she is lost, and they move through this empty landscape, and they put up with difficulties and problems because they are committed to their child. They love their child, and then they find the lion, and they think that everything is ended, but suddenly they discover that the lion is actually good, and that the lion is going to take them to their daughter, and suddenly they are in this enchanted world where they are with all of these wild animals, and hope has been restored. And finally, they are reunited with their daughter, and now no longer are they afraid of the wild, of the wilds of the of life of the wild desert, but they now know that they are safe. All the night in woe, Lyca's parents go over valleys deep while the deserts weep. So to weep is to cry, weep and woe. They're unhappy. The parents, they are looking for Lyca, and they're crying, and the landscape is crying while they are looking for her. Tired and woe-begone, hoarse with making moan. So they're tired and they're full of sadness, and they're hoarse because they've been crying and shouting. But arm in arm they hold each other's hands, and for 7 days they've been walking through the desert. So they're not going to give up. They're desperate to find Lyca. 7 nights they sleep among the shadows deep, and dream they see their child starved in desert wild. So at night they sleep in the darkness of the desert, and they dream that they can see their daughter in this desert, in this world which is empty. And they see this child starved, without any food, without any love, without anybody looking after her. Pale through pathless ways, the fancied image strays, famished, weeping, weak, with hollow, piteous shriek. Now this is describing Lyca, their little girl, in their dreams. And she's pale, and she walks in places where there are no routes, there are no roads, and she is straying here and there. And this is the image of her that they have in their minds. She's famished, she's really hungry, she's weeping, she's crying, she's weak. And she lets out a hollow, piteous shrieks, hollow, piteous cries. So they see that Lyca in a terrible state. Rising from unrest, the trembling woman pressed with feet of weary woe, she could no further go. So the woman wakes up and she wants to press on, she wants to continue looking for Lyca, but she can't go any further. She's exhausted. The mother has exhausted herself in this search for Lyca. In his arms he bore her, armed with sorrow sore. So he picks her up and he carries her in his arms, and they are both really sad, they're really unhappy, because they can't find her. And then, till before their way, a couching lion lay, and suddenly they see a lion lying in the road, lying in front of them. Turning back was vain. So they couldn't turn back, they couldn't go back, they couldn't escape. And soon his heavy mane bore them to the ground. So the hair of the lion pulled them to the ground, and then he walked around them, and round them. Is the lion going to eat them? Is the lion going to destroy them? Smelling to his prey, so he starts to sniff them, to smell them. But their fears allay when he licks their hand, and silent by them stands. And he smells them, but suddenly the lion starts licking their hands, and their fears are gone, that everything is okay because the lion is there with them. So the lion is on their side, that protection has come, that their long time of sadness, or long time of lonely sadness looking for Lyca, could be over. They look upon his eyes filled with deep surprise. So they're really surprised that the lion hasn't killed them. And wondering behold a spirit armed in gold. So the lion is like a golden spirit that has come to look after them. On his head a crown, on his shoulders down, flowed his golden hair, gone was all their care. So now the lion is like a spirit, like the perhaps the spirit of God, or the spirit of life, or the spirit of nature. And there's a crown on its head, and on his shoulders there's hair, and there's golden hair coming down, and all of their cares have gone. Follow me, he said, weep not for the maid. In my palace deep Lyca lies asleep. And the lion says to you, it's okay. Don't cry for your little daughter. She's asleep in my palace. So come with me, I will take you to her. So this is like redemption. This is like the story, suddenly everything gets better. So having been through terrible conditions, and having been through extreme unhappiness, suddenly everything is all right again. They followed where the vision led, and saw their sleeping child among tigers wild. So this lion, the vision of the lion, takes them to the child, and here Lyca is asleep, and there are wild tigers around her, and these tigers are protecting her, and they see that their child, that their hopes are protected by the wild beasts. To this day they dwell in a lonely dell. So, and even today they dwell in a lonely dell, in a lonely hidden place, nor fear the wolvish howl, nor the lion's growl. And they don't fear the wolves, they have no fear, because they know that they are protected, that they will be protected from the wild beasts, that everything is all right. So, The Little Girl Found by William Blake.